Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening for our council meeting. Before we get into the regular order of business, we do have a couple of things to take care of. One is there's a proclamation to be signed for the month of October 2017 as Children's Vision Month. And joining us, we've got Dr. Brittany Verge, who's an optometrist here at Howlett's Optical. Come on up, Brittany, if you don't mind, and join me. Welcome. Thanks for coming down this evening.
Thank you.
And obviously, Brittany has been practicing here for how long?
The last couple months.
For the last couple of months, so relatively new, and representing the optometrists in the area, and I guess everywhere, for this proclamation for the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. So, Brittany will stand by, I guess, while I read this. It says, the Children's Vision Month, October 2017. Whereas all children deserve the opportunity to see their full potential. Whereas 80% of childhood learning relies on vision and many vision problems do not have symptoms. Whereas public awareness about the role vision plays in learning is necessary for children to receive prompt vision treatment. Whereas parents, teachers, and healthcare professionals understand the importance of collaborating to reduce the impact of untreated vision problems. Whereas to determine if a child sees well, he or she requires a comprehensive eye examination by a doctor of optometry. Therefore, I, Barry Manuel, Mayor of the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor, do hereby proclaim October 2017 Children's Vision Month in the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor, Newfoundland and Labrador. And I will sign a copy for us to hold on to. And a copy for Brittany to take with her.
Perfect. All right. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Thank you very much for coming down,
All right.
taking time out. We appreciate it very much.
All
Keep
right,
up the
thank
good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brittany.
Okay, moving on to our next order of business before we get into our formal meeting. We got some special guests here this evening. Dr. Brittany's going to make her way out, I think, and we'll get our other special guests here. Some people may have heard through social media and the media and other outlets that these two young girls have been very busy doing a lot of fundraising for a very special cause. And I'm very pleased to welcome Maya and Lily Healy here this evening. And their mom, Mandy, I think, is going to come up with them. Dad can come up too if he wants. Dad's not coming. How's it going, guys? Lily, how you doing? Good to see you. Maya, good to see you. Mandy, welcome. Thanks for coming in. And I know I've been reading a lot about what you guys have been up to, and you're raising money for arthritis, right? I think Maya was diagnosed at a young age.
Age 2.
Age 2, she was diagnosed and has been going back and forth to the Janeway for treatment since. And hopefully everything is going well with you, Maya, but obviously you decided to not only travel back and forth to St. John's, but you figured you'd do something about this disease, hey, and get some funds raised. And you guys have been very successful, haven't you? Because now Lily's jumped on board, so now you're Sister Power, right? They call themselves Sister Power, and they've been raising money. I think 2 years ago, you guys raised $3,000.
Did
Last year, you guys raised
almost $4,500.
almost $4,500. And this year, you guys are at it again.
We are. We're already up to $3,000, and we have until June to go.
Awesome. So I can see that last year's record is probably going to be broken again.
We're hoping.
Right? So I guess I should ask how you guys take donations. If anybody out there is watching tonight and they wanted to make a contribution to the cause, how they would go about doing it.
We have our own Sister Power Walk to Fight Arthritis Facebook page. We're on Twitter as well. You can stop by the medicine shop to make a donation. You can contact me. We can set something up, like to meet.
Yeah.
Whatever's easy.
Right? Well, all you got to do is look it up, I guess, on
Yeah,
Facebook.
you can look
got
it up.
Facebook pages.
Sister Power, the Walk to Fight Arthritis.
Okay, so you can definitely find them on Facebook if you want to make a contribution. I'd encourage everybody to do so. But you guys have done more than that too. You haven't just stopped with the arthritis fundraising, you made a couple other donations too, right?
We have a very special lady who's donated several quilts to us that she's made. One for us to actually use as a fundraiser, and the other two were given to them to donate to a charity of their choice other than the Arthritis Society. So Maya chose to donate hers to medical daycare at the Janeway where she receives her treatment. And so the quilt is an I Spy quilt, so it hangs on the wall and children can play games with it while they're getting their treatment.
Nice.
And Lily just recently donated hers to the Autism Society on behalf of two of her friends that have autism.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. I can't say enough about what you guys are doing. You're really making a difference. You do know that, right? You're making a big difference. So keep up the great work. We certainly are happy that you were able to come down and visit us here at council meeting tonight. And hopefully this helps boost your donations a little bit. I know I got one for you, and I'm sure the other councillors would probably jump on board as well and help raise that number a little bit. So we're going to let you go. Sister Power. Keep up the great work. Way to go, Louie. How about a high five before you go, all right? Maya, way to go. All right. Mandy, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See ya. I think that deserves a little round of applause. Excellent. Okay. With that, I will call meeting number 485 of the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor Council to order. The first order of business is adoption of minutes. We actually have two sets of minutes to adopt tonight. One from a meeting on September the 19th, was it? September the 19th. So I will ask, with reference to those set of minutes, if there's any errors or omissions. Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to accept. Councillor Finn, seconded by Deputy Mayor Browne. Any discussion on the motion to accept those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Now, the other set of minutes is the minutes from the meeting where we were sworn in for this term of council, and we also adopted the committee structure at that meeting. So that's meeting number 484, and I'll ask if there's any errors or omissions. Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to accept. Councillor Feener, seconded by Councillor Cody Davis. Any discussion on the motion to accept the second set of minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Disbursement report and our newly minted business arising from the minutes. Thank you. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited to be back. The disbursement report can wait. Is there any business arising out of the minutes? Either set of minutes? Hearing none, I'll move to the disbursement report. Now our newly minted Chair of Finance can deliver the disbursement report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report for October 10th, 2017 in the amount of $1,946,424 for adoption.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Committee reports, Economic Development, Tourism and Heritage. Councillor Whiffen. Didn't realize you're going to have all those things attached to that committee, did you?
Well, no, not till I seen the title. In our first Economic Development, Tourism and Heritage Committee meeting was largely an update as to what projects have been working on. So we did receive a update on the retail conference that was held in October from the Economic Development Officer. And he just continues his meetings with retailers to keep them on top of mind that Grand Falls-Windsor is here and open for business, and he discussed various opportunities with various retailers. So he'll continue to that dialogue with our retailers, and hopefully we'll be seeing the results of that work in the coming months. We did discuss mobile vendor regulations that we're reviewing right now. So we looked at some of our mobile vendors that operate in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor over the last couple of years. We did send the Economic Development Officer to compile more information on what other municipalities are doing to regulate their mobile vendors, and the committee will have a discussion on that in our next round of meetings, and we'll hopefully be able to propose some recommendations to council as to how we'll carry on with our mobile vendors. We received an update on new businesses that established themselves here in Grand Falls-Windsor. So since January 1st, we had a total of 37 new businesses that have opened, and on the other side we had 11 that closed. So we are net 28 businesses here so far this year. Sorry, 26. We also, the other item on the agenda was the discussion around Airbnb. So again, we're going to look at how other communities are dealing with Airbnbs in the area, and we'll propose some recommendations to council as to how we'll regulate those. So that will also be on the agenda in the next cycle. We received a request from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business and their Director of Provincial Affairs to meet with council to discuss small business, and that meeting took place on October 19th, and what is discussed will be brought to the next committee meeting for further discussion. And we received a report from the Business Development Officer where councillors, we received an update on the current initiatives in healthcare, the age-friendly project, the genomics, and the data center update. And in other business, the mayor updated the committee on the status of the mill property, and he's recently had discussions with their MHA, and right now we're told a decision on the mill property has gone to cabinet, and we should expect something. Something from the government on what they're going to do there, and the mayor will continue to communicate with them on this item. So those are really just the updates we received during that meeting, and now I guess in our next couple of meetings is when we'll get down to work on some of our other initiatives. So I move to recommend the report of this committee.
Councillor Whiffen, if I could ask that you just, before you move, if you would read into the record the people who were present at the meeting, just as a point of note for the record.
Okay, so those who attended the meeting were myself as chair, and members of the committee, Councillor Sean Feener and Councillor Rod Bennett, as well as Mayor Barry Manuel. And observing on that meeting is Deputy Mayor Mike Browne and Councillor Amy Cody Davis. And also in attendance was Jeff Saunders, Town Manager, Gary Hennessy, Economic Development Officer, and Stan Singh, Business Development Officer.
Okay, thank you, sir. So it's been moved by Councillor Whiffen. I'm looking for a seconder on those minutes. Councillor Feener, any discussion on the Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage minutes? Councillor Finn.
Just, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the minutes, Councillor Whiffen had ran through the minutes, but never read them out verbatim. And I think that the minutes should be read out verbatim because it is our official record of the meeting. And, well, he hit on most of the points. I suggest there are a couple that weren't covered in his discussion. And by reading them out, you will still have an opportunity to add dialogue or explanation to any of these minutes. So I think as a practice, we should have the minutes read formally as they're as they're presented, and which will transfer to our next meeting for formal adoption.
Okay.
So I just wanted to add that point.
Any other discussion on that point? Okay, I would suggest then for now, because I agree, he did do a good job hitting on a lot of the points that were in there, that we could adopt the minutes with your point noted for future reference. So we have a mover and a seconder, and any other discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, before we put it to a vote, just a update, I guess, on there was reference to the mill land and property. We have been corresponding with government for, I would say, the better part of the last 3 years now, in earnest, on seeing what the future of that property holds. I think everybody recognizes that that property does have a significant place in the future of our town, regardless of what it looks like down the road. And it is in our best interest at some point to get some or all of that land turned over to us. Right now, we've been told by government for the last number of months that they are working on what they refer to as a package deal. That would include the training center, the roadway, the Grand Falls house and property, and other associated lands in that area. That is far from a done deal at this point. Obviously, council would want to consider whatever the province proposes in terms of how that land would be transferred and what exactly would be included. I would also say that in the next little while, there will be further discussion from council on where we see the lines being drawn down there, what we would or would not want, and how the conditions of any kind of land transition would be agreed upon. So we still got a fair bit of work left to do there. I don't think it's fair to think that there's a land transfer imminent, but certainly we're working towards that in some form. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know there's always a lot of discussion around the former mill lands, particularly the Grand Falls house and property, and I look forward to talking to council and the other stakeholders in town about what the future of the mill lands should be so that we can work with government in the best interest of the community and the region. Okay. One more time, is there any other discussion on the Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage minutes? Hearing none. We got a mover and a seconder, so all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Finance and Administration, Councilor Cody Davis. Before we get into it, though, we do have a few items in the finance minutes that need to be separated and dealt with individually. But I would ask that we make a motion that would state that so that we could separate all three items to be dealt with individually. But the motion would be to separate all three. So can I ask for someone to make that motion? Okay?
And I'll list the three items individually as well, so we'll know. The first item that we're gonna, that I move that be removed from the agenda is the item pertaining to Kevin Whiffen. The second item is the funding request for the Off the Cuff singing group. And the third item is the Grand Falls Golf Club. So I move that those three items be separated from the minutes, and we'll vote on them separately.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Cody Davis, seconded by Councilor Finn. Any discussion on the move to separate? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, so we will deal with those one at a time, and we will ask each councillor with the perceived conflict to remove themselves while we deal with each. So the first one is the request from Mr. Whiffen. So Councillor Whiffen had excused himself from that discussion at committee, and I'd ask if he would excuse us for a few moments while we deal with that minute. And Councillor Cody Davis, if you could read that minute into the record, please.
Sure, I'll read the meeting time and attendees as well, and I guess that'll just carry forth into each
Yep.
one. Finance and Administration Committee met on Tuesday, October 10th at 4:30. In attendance, and for future reference, chairperson or chairwoman rather than chairman, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Mark Whiffen, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody Davis again as chair, Councillor Rod Bennett and Deputy Mayor Mike Browne. Staff included Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and HR, and Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk. Correspondence from Mr. Whiffen, Kevin Whiffen. Councillor Mark Whiffen excused himself for this part of the meeting. The committee reviewed correspondence concerning forgiveness of water rates for vacant land. The committee recommends this request be denied. It is noted under Section 130 of the Municipalities Act, Council is required to charge water rates on all service land. So I move the recommendation of the committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis. Looking for a seconder on that. Councillor Finn, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. If you could ask Councillor Whiffen to rejoin us, and we'll deal with the next minute. The next one is the funding request from the Off the Cuff Community Choir, and Councillor Feener had excused himself from that discussion, so I'll ask Councillor Feener if he would excuse us for a moment to deal with that minuted item. And welcome Councillor Whiffen back. And if you would, Councillor Cody Davis.
Okay, that item was a funding request, and the committee reviewed a request from Off the Cuff Community Chorus for funding, and the committee recommends that this item be deferred to our budget discussions, which will be happening later this month and into November. So I move the recommendation of the committee for that item.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Finn, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. And if we could get Councillor Feener to return, please. And the third one is the request from the golf club. And Deputy Mayor Browne had excused himself from that discussion, and we'll ask him to do the same here tonight. And he makes his way out. And again, Councillor Cody Davis, if you would, please.
Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Mike Browne excused himself from that portion of the meeting with regards to the Grand Falls Golf Club. The committee reviewed a request from the Grand Falls Golf Club to provide a guarantee for overdraft on their banking agreement, and the committee recommends that this not be approved. So I move the recommendation of the committee for that item.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Bennett. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Browne to rejoin us. And then we'll ask Councillor Cody Davis if you would read the remainder of those minutes, omitting those as you go along.
The first item on our agenda was the labor report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 39. Total labor was $2,684,711. This was $76,107, or minus 2.8% over budget. The committee recommends staff continue to monitor labor costs. Cash collections. The committee reviewed the taxation receivable report as of September the 30th, 2017. The total taxes outstanding as of that date are $2,150,557, a decrease of $46,879, or minus 2.13% from the previous year. The committee recommends staff continue its collection efforts. The disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $1,946,242 and recommends it be presented at the next council meeting. Funding requests. The committee reviewed a request from the Rotary Club of Grand Falls for sponsorship of the Something to Whine About event at the Grand Falls Legion. The committee recommends the town purchase a diamond sponsorship for this event. The committee reviewed a request from the Stewardship Association of Municipalities Incorporated. The committee recommends $600 be approved for sponsorship of the luncheon. Exploits Regional Services Board. The committee reviewed the chemical costs for the end of June 2017. Total cost year-to-date for chemicals is $100,000, $523, an increase of $11,255 over last year. It is noted that chemical costs for the year will require an additional $50,000 in budget allocation. Insurance tender. The committee discussed correspondence concerning tendering our annual insurance expense. The committee recommends we review our claim history and discuss this further at a future meeting. The Exploits Valley YMCA. The committee discussed the recent meeting with the YMCA concerning the annual grant. The committee recommends that staff and the YMCA council representative meet with the YMCA to further discuss this issue. The art procurement. The committee reviewed the proposed date for the art procurement and recommends that it be held on November the 25th at the Corduroy Brook Center. The committee recommends that this event be publicized on the town website, Facebook, and town app, as well as through contact with the schools. I just want to elaborate on that minute. We decided to delay the procurement because we wanted to open it up to more groups to make sure there was more awareness. So right now, notices have gone into the schools as well to kind of generate some submissions from youth, as well as from the various art groups and just independent artists in the community. So again, the information is available on our town Facebook page, and if you're interested in submitting a piece of art, there are some requirements for your submission, so I would suggest that you do take a look for that information, and we look forward to receiving lots of pieces of art for our selection process. The budget preparation schedule. The committee reviewed the proposed budget preparation schedule and recommends it be accepted. The committee recommends that departmental goals and objectives be reviewed prior to consideration of financial requests. The actuarial valuation defined benefit pension plan. The committee reviewed the actuarial valuation for December 31st of 2016 as completed by Mercer. Total market value of assets was $8,458,700. Current value of liabilities on a going concern basis is $10,672,800, resulting in a funding deficit of $2,214,100. This is an increase of $279,600 over the deficit as of December the 31st, 2015. These changes will result in an increased annual expense of $47,200. The committee recommends we continue making our special payments as required under the Pension Benefits Act to reduce this liability. Recreation Department positions. The committee reviewed a proposed job description for a proposed position in the Recreation Department. The committee recommends that the job description be reviewed further and that this be discussed during the 2018 budget preparation. Our meeting adjourned at 9 p.m., and I move the recommendations and the report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis. Looking for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Browne, any discussion on the finance minutes? Hearing none, I'll just add to what Councillor Cody Davis had said about the art procurement program. It's been ongoing now, I guess, for some 12, 13 years probably. The town has budgeted an amount each year and welcomed local artists to submit pieces that the town could consider purchasing and hanging in the various buildings owned by the town, of course, including the town hall, which has a lot of beautiful artwork around. And our Director of Finance, I know, was very involved in that program starting, along with the former Deputy Mayor Susan Sullivan at the time. And it's been a really great program, you know, and I know that there's a lot of artists in Grand Falls-Windsor and area. It's not restricted certainly, but I do know that we'd love to see as much art as possible submitted for that program on November 25th, so I think the deadline is a week before, correct? Oh, it is the deadline, okay, so you have till November 25th to submit a piece of art. And I know the last couple of years, haven't been involved myself, I've heard from the community after the fact that they didn't know, they wish they had known, so really the town is doing everything it can through Facebook, social media, the schools, as Councillor Cody Davis had mentioned, to get the word out there. So if you know anybody who's an artist and would like to submit a piece, by all means do so. Any other discussion on the finance minutes? Hearing none, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Public Works and Planning, Deputy Mayor Browne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works and Planning met 4:30 Wednesday, October 11th. Those present were myself as chair, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Mayor Barry Emanuel, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Sean Feener, Councillor Mark Whiffen, staff attending Jeff Sanders, Town Manager Clerk, and Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering and Works. First item of business, Mr. Mayor, was a land request from 21 Exploits Lane. The committee reviewed a request from Pete Anstey for 40 feet of backland at 21 Exploits Lane. This land is being acquired from Crown Lands. The committee recommends this backland be sold as per the town's land sales policy. The committee reviewed a request from Mr. Glenn Crane for his father, Ralph Crane, to purchase extra backland at 23 Exploits Lane. The land is being acquired from Crown Lands. The committee recommends a maximum of 50 feet of backland be sold as per the town's land sales policy. 68 Lincoln Road, the committee reviewed a recent inspection of 68 Lincoln Road for the home-based business Lawn and Weed Experts. The owner has exceeded well outside his boundary with operations and is causing issues with the neighborhood. Furthermore, the area needs to be cleaned up, and storage of materials need to be more secure. The committee recommends staff contact the owner of the business, Mr. Kenneth Loader, to see what his future plans are with respect to this operation has outgrown the realms of a home-based business. Grenfell Heights Extension, the committee discussed correspondence from Lindsay Farrell regarding the condition of Grenfell Heights from the intersection of New Bay Road to the east boundary of town. Ms. Farrell notes the poor road conditions, poor drainage, and lack of sidewalks. Ms. Farrell has been notified that this section of roadway is owned and operated by the Department of Transportation and Works. The town has offered the department to take ownership of this section of it, if this section was upgraded, but have not received any formal response. The committee recommends that staff follow up with the Minister of Transportation and Works to investigate this further. Also, staff will contact local officials within the Department of Transportation and Works to try and get some temporary repairs along this section. Discretionary use, 140 Lincoln Road. The committee reviewed an application for a home-based business at 140 Lincoln Road for a nail salon. A notice was issued to adjacent homeowners and no objections were received. The committee recommends this application be approved. W. Reconstruction Limited, land on Grenfell Heights. The committee reviewed the land purchased from Crown Lands near 43 Grenfell Heights. This acquisition was required for the development of a new subdivision proposed by W. Reconstruction Limited. The committee recommends that only 2.86 acres be sold, which is the area required for the new development only. The price of this land is to be sold as per the town's land sale policy, which is $20,000 per acre. The meeting adjourned at 6 p.m., Mr. Mayor, and I move the recommendations of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Browne. For a seconder on those, Councillor Feener, any discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes? Councillor Finn.
Mr. Mayor, with respect to the minute item on the Grenfell Heights extension, because I think the resident referenced here had contacted a number of councillors to get attention to the condition of the road that's beyond New Bay Road, which is a section of road that the town of Grand Falls-Windsor doesn't own or control, but is within our municipal boundary for a few houses there. So I think it's important to just reiterate that council has taken a position where we preliminarily, I'll suggest, that we are willing to take responsibility for the road, but we want government to fix it up to a standard that's comparable to the rest of the roads in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. And then we would take the obligation of maintaining it and repairing it into the future, which I think is a fair arrangement. But working through the process with government does delay the residents involved that live on this road from seeing immediate action. So I've communicated back that I think is our council's role to advocate to government to get the government to fulfill their obligation, and we'll do that. And I thought we should say that publicly, because while I've been only approached by one resident, there are others that are impacted there. So I just thought it's worth reiterating what the council has discussed and agreed upon to date.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. Any other discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor Randall. Minutes for Parks, Recreation, and Special Events Committee meeting, Thursday, October the 12th, 2017 at 4:30 p.m. In attendance, myself, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Deputy Mayor Mike Browne, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Mark Whiffen, Councillor Sean Feener, and staff were Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and Human Resources, Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation. Our first order was Programmer, Social Media Coordinator position. The committee discussed the need for a new Programmer, Social Media Coordinator position to keep up with all the programs and special events operated by the Parks and Recreation Department. The committee recommends to revise the proposed job description and put this request forward in the upcoming 2018 budget. 2017 Parks and Recreation Fall Brochure. The Director of Parks and Recreation presented the fall brochure to the committee, listing the details of planned programs and special events for the next few months. The committee recommends to call a public meeting within the next couple of months to get ideas from the public about programs they would like to see in our community. Gymnastics program. Committee discussed the gymnastics program, which had moved to the old Stone Valley Equipment Building on Bailey Street. The fall session had over 200 registered children, will run for 10 weeks and finishes in early December. The committee recommends staff continue to discuss with the school board to try to make arrangements to utilize the old Millcrest Gymnasium. The Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium opening date. The committee discussed the schedule of events and activities in the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium for the fall and winter. The committee recommend the opening of Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium for ice rentals on Monday, November 13th, 2017. AAA Bantam Ice Pack correspondence. The committee discussed correspondence from the AAA Bantam Ice Pack hockey team in requesting sponsorship for their team. The committee recommend to deny this request, as this sponsorship does not meet the guidelines of our grant policies. Goodyear Avenue Quad Trail. The committee discussed a concern from the residents on Goodyear Avenue about the new bypass trail around Goodyear Avenue baseball fields that obstruct them from getting access to the trail bed from the rear of their yard. As it is dangerous with ATVs and motorbikes in this area around the ball fields, the committee recommends staff finishing the bypass to ensure children safe walking to and from the ball fields by adding an extra pedestrian opening in the fence to ensure walking traffic have access around the fields. Residents bordering the ball fields can access the bypass trail from the front of their property down to the ball field's main gate parking lot. 2019 Recreation NL Provincial Conference. The Director of Parks and Recreation informed the committee that the opportunity to host the 2019 Recreation NL Provincial Conference. The committee recommends the Director put in a bid for Grand Falls-Windsor to host a conference in 2019. The Culinary Food Festival report. The Director presented the committee with the Perfectly Centered Culinary Food Festival report was a huge success. The committee recommends the report, which shows a profit of $13,370. Upcoming events and activities. The Director presented a list of proposed dates for upcoming events and activities for the Parks and Recreation Department, which include the Agri-Foods and Garden Show this past week in October the 20th and 22nd. And I have to add, I had a chat, I was there on Saturday, I had a chat with Jamie Warren, and I talked to a number of booths there, and they were very pleased. And it was a great show. It looks like they had approximately 2,800 people go through. And on Monday, they had about 350 kids go through. And it was great. It was probably one of the better shows I've seen at the Joe Byrne. The Junior Volleyball Tournament on November 3rd and 4th, 2017. The Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts home opener, November 18th and 19th. We'll be hosting the Southern Shore Breakers on the 18th and the CBS Blues on the 19th. The Midwinter Biver, February 16th to the 18th, 2018. Perfectly Centered Food Festival is August 17th and 18th, 2018. The committee recommends approval of these events and activities. The meeting adjourned at 8 p.m. I move recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Bennett. Looking for a seconder for those minutes. Deputy Mayor Browne, any discussion on the Parks, Recreation, and Special Events Committee? Hearing none, I got a couple of comments to make before we put to a vote. Just wanted to acknowledge the good work by our staff on the Parks and Rec Fall brochure. Again, the newsletter, whatever terminology you want to use that goes out. Great job, and just one look, and you can see how much there is to do in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. Something for all ages. The Red Maple Festival coming up, of course, this weekend is included, along with all kinds of other events and activities. So check that out, post it on your bulletin board, and make sure you're aware of all the things that are going on through the winter, because we know winter is not most people's favorite time of the year, but certainly we make sure that there's still lots of things going on. And some of the things that were noted, I guess, in the brochure, the Cataracts are back on the ice again this year. A lot of wonder whether or not they would be back. Great to see that there will be hockey, and not only hockey again, but a good variety of teams coming in. They'll have the Central League with Gander and Clarenville and the Cataracts, but also there'll be a number of teams traveling in from the East Coast as well, which is good from a fan's perspective to get that variety of teams. And I think everybody recognizes the value of the Cataracts to the community in terms of a quality of life thing to do, and the economic boost to minor hockey and the promotional boost to the community. Allen Cup champion, Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts, I should add. And the Midwinter Biver, of course, is another great event that seems to be building every year. A lot of tickets gone already, and if anybody is interested in a couple of fantastic days of snowmobile rides and great food and entertainment, you should get on top of getting tickets for that, because I know the dinner particularly tends to sell out pretty quickly. And speaking of selling out quickly, we'll talk a lot more about our Culinary Food Festival too, I guess, as it approaches. Still a long way away, but tickets last year were sold out in a matter of days, and everybody had a great time. So I'm sure that we will see that kind of response again. So stay tuned for when ticket sales go on sale. And the little note there about ATVs on Goodger Ball Field. Of course, anybody who has been around the Goodger Avenue Ball Field, not unique in this situation, but there's a lot of relation, I suppose, when it comes to the ATV activity and the pedestrian activity in the area. We got a lot of kids programs that we run down there. It is our minor baseball facility, and what staff have proposed, and council certainly has supported, is the bearing off of a portion of the Goodyear Avenue ball field so that the main area where you enter and exit the gate area and the clubhouse is, you'll no longer see the ATV traffic thoroughfare through that area, which obviously will improve the safety immensely. But at the same time, which I think was noted in the minutes, there will be the full opportunity for ATV enthusiasts, side-by-sides, snowmobilers to continue their route around that area as we finish the trail behind the ball fields, where very rarely do you see any pedestrian traffic, and it would improve the safety. So look forward to that being finished, and certainly appreciate the cooperation and understanding of residents in the area and the ATV users and so forth that may have experienced some inconveniences while the project is ongoing. Okay, any other comments on the Deputy Mayor Browne?
Thank you, Mayor Emanuel. I'd just like to compliment their Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Antle, Keith Antle, for the number of events we seem to be happening in this town on a continuous basis. I think these events separate our towns and makes Grand Falls-Windsor such a great place to live. And in fact, we had an email from a lady from Gander, a young professional, looking for the schedule of our events and wondering or not whether she could bring 20 people in with her from Gander, young professionals, because she was so impressed with the number of events that our Parks and Recreation staff have throughout the year. So I'd just like to pass, and you can pass that along to your staff, Mr. Antle, as well there. Congratulations on that. I think the number of events we have here in Grand Falls-Windsor, Mr. Mayor, are exceptional. Something to do for everybody, most every week. So good job, Mr. Antle.
Agreed. Thanks for that, Deputy Mayor Browne. Any other comments on the Parks, Recreation, and Special Events minutes? Hearing none, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Committee of the Whole. Deputy Mayor Browne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee of the Whole met 4:30 Thursday, October 17th. Those present were myself as chair, Mayor Emanuel, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Mark Whitman, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Sean Feener. Staff included Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering and Works, Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance, and Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk. Also attending throughout the meeting, Mr. Mayor, were Andre Party and Laurie Hennessy, representing the Snow Angels, and Staff Sergeant Kelly Bryan, representing the RCMP. The first item was correspondence from Jeff Andrews. The committee discussed correspondence from Mr. Andrews regarding compensation for his efforts snow clearing the side road and parking lot near his business on Lincoln Road. This was a task that Mr. Andrews completed on his own without any direction from municipal staff. The committee recommends this request be denied. Municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador voting delegates. The committee recommends that Mayor Barry Emanuel and Deputy Mayor Mike Browne would be Grand Falls-Windsor's voting delegates at the upcoming convention in Corner Brook. Correspondence from the Municipal Assessment Agency. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Municipal Assessment Agency's call for nomination for the Urban and Central Region Director. No member of council is interested at this time. Committee structure. The committee recommends that the committee structure be, as attached, be approved. Then we had a visit from the Snow Angels, Andre Party and Laurie Hennessy. Mr. Party gave a detailed presentation on what his group is proposing to assist citizens such as older adults, those with disabilities, and others with various sicknesses can recognize their snow clearers as Snow Angels. This nonprofit group is hoping to have this initiative in place by November of this year. There was discussion and suggestion made by the committee for Mr. Party and his group to review as they finalize their implementation plan. The committee recommends that when all details are finalized, Mr. Party can provide the town manager clerk with the proposed plan and any specific request of council. Mr. Andre Party and Ms. Laurie Hennessy were excused at 6:30 p.m. Organizational and operational review. The committee reviewed the correspondence from the town manager clerk dated September 11, 2017, and recommends the RFP be prepared for discussion. RCMP Staff Sergeant Kelly Browne. Staff Sergeant Browne gave an overview of his detachment located in Grand Falls-Windsor, including number of members, region covered, number of community serviced, files handled, etc. Council did express concern, as in the past, that the number of members need to increase because of the region size and files generated. The committee thanked Staff Sergeant Browne for his update and will continue to have open dialogue and lobby for increased staff. Staff Sergeant Browne was excused at 8 p.m. Council minutes. The committee discussed the level of content to be included in the council minutes. This will be reviewed in more detail with further discussion at committee prior to implementing any changes. SPCA animal control. The committee discussed the relationship between the SPCA and animal control staff. The committee recommends that the town manager clerk arrange a meeting with the SPCA executive. Renewable resources timber. The committee discussed the timber resources in Central that are presently being trucked out of this area for processing. There was interest expressed by a local group to establish a facility in Grand Falls-Windsor. The proposed biofuels project for Botwood has been allocated 280,000 cubic meters of fiber, which will benefit this area. The committee recommends that any group wishing to develop an industry in Grand Falls-Windsor to use fiber should contact their staff. Council will assist and provide support where possible. Tourist Chalet. The Tourist Chalet closed in Grand Falls-Windsor several years ago due to low visitation numbers. Tourists now obtain their information from online sources. The committee recommends staff review areas in town where we can have information available through brochure racks and seasonal staff presence combined with other operations. Concrete median through Grand Falls-Windsor and the Trans-Canada Highway. The committee discussed the median on the Trans-Canada Highway and the impact on economic development. Other regions have not had restrictions and have experienced increased development of highway services. Concern was also expressed with safety issues with increased development without proper traffic controls. The committee recommends that the RFP for the Trans-Canada Highway beautification consider the impact of the median of the median on development. Also, what improvement can be implemented to enhance access to the community from the Trans-Canada Highway. The meeting adjourned at 9:10 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Browne, seconded by Councillor Whiffen. Any discussion on the Committee of the Whole minutes? Hearing none, again, I'll just make a few comments. I would like to extend congratulations to Staff Sergeant Kelly Browne, who celebrated 25 years with the RCMP this past Friday. Congratulations to Kelly. He's been here, I guess, around a couple of years now, and we have commended him on a number of occasions, I think publicly as well, and deservedly so. You know, we keep talking about the lack of resources here in Grand Falls-Windsor Detachment, and that is a fact and continues to be, and we will continue to put pressure on the powers that be to consider either allocating additional resources or reallocating some resources from other areas of the province where we feel there's disproportionate representation as compared to Grand Falls-Windsor. But Kelly, I guess with the resources that he does have, has brought about some good changes in Grand Falls-Windsor with his resources. Also, the Snow Angels idea was brought to us by Andre Pardy, and Andre, I know, has spoken to most, if not all of us, prior to our meeting about that idea. And really, it's a great idea, you know, the concept of having people identified in the community who could avail of such a service, who are unable to clear the paths or the driveways, and have someone who would be willing to take that on as a snow angel, I think has a lot of merit. So we look forward to their continued progress. I know they're gone back to meet with the members that they want to establish their group a little further and try to define their idea a little more. and then they intend to bring that back to council and seek council's support. But the concept of snow angels is certainly something I think that all councillors would like to see implemented in Grand Falls-Windsor. And just one comment on the tourist chalet, I guess, I would think that in the future, if we are successful in obtaining the mill property, the riverfront property, there may be an opportunity somewhere on that land to look at having some form of a tourist chalet, either independently or as part of another property or building that functions for other purposes. Because we do expect and certainly hope that the riverfront property in the future will bring about some tourist activity. So it would be important to provide that kind of support, in my personal opinion. Any other comments before we move on the Committee of the Whole minutes? Councillor Finn?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just if I could add to the topic of the concrete median through the Trans-Canada Highway, because the council had discussion generally about the whether or not it should be an issue with respect to approaching government to remove it or leave it. But the discussion also led us to a discussion of current work, which is the study on Trans-Canada Highway beautification, is what I'll call it loosely, but it's about how to improve the appearance of Grand Falls-Windsor along the Trans-Canada Highway as those 1.5 to 2 million vehicles pass back and forth through Grand Falls-Windsor every year. And we know we get a very low percentage of that vehicle traffic that actually pull off and get services in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. So it's a tremendous opportunity right on our doorstep. And what council is doing here, for the benefit of those who are listening tonight, is that we're going to look at the whole corridor through Grand Falls-Windsor in terms of signage that's fallen down or worn out, the landscape or lack of landscape, abandoned buildings or buildings that have no care towards the highway face, vacant land, the signage in terms of directional signage or promotional signage. All of these issues reflect how people form an opinion on your town in the 60, I'll say 60, or well, it probably takes about 3 minutes to pass through town at 80, 90 kilometers an hour. So it doesn't take long to pass through town and decide whether or not you're going to, or even on the approaches back as far as Bishop Falls or Badger, to decide whether or not you're going to actually pull in, get lunch, use the washroom, or get any service. People plan those things out in their mind, like when I travel. I know pretty much where I'm going to stop, and it's and so I think there are tremendous opportunities there for us to get a bigger share of that highway traffic. But it has to be identified how we can do things better to attract that highway traffic, which will benefit our business community directly. And then we'll put costs to it, and as a council we'll decide, after that report is done, we'll decide how that council will have decisions on what council can do, what other people who own private land can do, and what government can do. Because government has a tremendous responsibility here, just by the virtue of putting that medium through our community. So that's the key thing there that I think it's important for the public to know why we're looking at this here and how it connects to the median issue, which is raised in the minutes by Councillor Feener.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. And I don't think there's any question, certainly not in my mind, and I know Councillor Feener had brought it up in the same light, that median has been a detriment to economic activity on our highway and off. You see examples all over the province of places who are thriving on their highways. You look no further than Gander, Deer Lake, Whitburn, Clarenville, all of which have very bustling economic activity along the highway. We had the median put in, I'm guessing, 25 years ago or so now. Would not be opposed to exploring removing that. Whether or not government would be willing to do that would be highly questionable in my mind. But the fact that it is a detriment to business is very relevant. And we want to make sure that we are, as Councillor Finn said, trying to capture, for lack of a better word, more of the traffic that's coming through Grand Falls-Windsor, to have them stop in Grand Falls-Windsor to support our local business. And if we can get them to stop, there's a good chance that they will stay or they will return, because I'm a firm believer that once you get inside our community, we have a beautiful community with lots to offer and lots of ideas on the burner that will have even more to offer in the future. So it's an important issue, and as Councillor Finn pointed out, this study to be done on the Trans-Canada Highway and to address all those issues as he noted is very important to the future of the town and to get as much traffic through our community to support our local economy. So thanks for bringing that up. Any other comment on the committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Before we move on, we do have a resolution that I'll ask Councillor Cody Davis to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor. The resolution is regarding Small Communities Fund, project number 17-SCF-18-000063, Grenfell Heights Upper Portion, New Water and Storm and Road Widening Phase 1. Whereas the Minister and the Council have agreed to enter into a municipal infrastructure agreement for the financing of Grenfell Heights Upper Portion, New Water and Storm and Road Widening Phase 1, project number 17-SCF-18-000063, hereinafter referred to as the Works, and have agreed to cost not in excess of $1 million, which amounts to $906,835 after the GST-HST rebate calculation. And whereas the cost-shared funding for this agreement is as follows: the provincial portion, $332,536, the federal portion, $302,248, and the municipal portion, $272,051. And whereas the Minister of Municipal Affairs has been authorized to negotiate an agreement on behalf of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Clerk are authorized to enter into this agreement on behalf of Council. And I move this resolution for adoption.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis and seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the resolution? Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to add, I believe this funding, approved for funding, which is a formality for government that's required for them to release the money to us and enter into an agreement. But this discusses the Grenfell Heights improvements from Ireland Drive to Islander RV, and that will include new water, storm, and road widening. So, so just from the reading of the minute itself, you wouldn't get exactly what section of Grenfell Heights is impacted, and this would be for next year, which is important to know. And it does address some complaints that Council has received over the last number of years with respect to I'll say water control when in some of the properties from the freeze and thaw. When there's excessive amounts of water, some properties get a lot of runoff from the highway, but it's because there is no real storm sewer system in the area, and the slopes up the road, or I don't know what that's term we use in Nelson. Anyway, the grade of the roads, the pitch of the roads. So that will improve that area and remove those issues for those residents after the next season. That's correct on the area I've described?
It'll start at Crawley and head towards
Crawley.
There's probably 3 to 4 phases to go to full length. So depending on what some of the costs are, this is just the first phase.
Also from Crawley to Islander RV?
Heading towards Islander RV is probably 3 to 4 million, depending on what some prices are.
In that particular area?
Yeah. Depending on some of the prices, coming in.
Depends on the pricing, okay. Well, I stand corrected. I thought it was going to cover the whole section. But again, that's also important to know. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Finn. And that particular work there, Mr. Director, Engineering, includes the ditching as well and culverting of the ditches with stone and that, is that correct? Is that?
Put in a new storm system to take care of the drainage situation.
Right.
Similar to what we got done on the other side of the roundabout.
Yes, right. Okay, thanks for that. Any other discussion, comment on that resolution? Hearing none. It's been proposed by Councillor Cody Davis. We did get a seconder, correct? And seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Moving on. Notice of motion. Do we have any notices of motion? Hearing none, we'll move into other business, and we will start this new term with Councillor Cody Davis. You're up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to just speak again about Maya and Lily, who are here this evening to talk about their Sister Power Facebook page. I did go on Facebook and share that page on my Facebook, so I would encourage residents to go on and join that group as well, to kind of follow along what they're doing and to show your support for their efforts as well. We did have the Director of Engineering and Works snap a picture while you were speaking to the girls. So we did post that picture with the post as well. Normally we have our Economic Development Officer here, Gary, who takes care of our photos and Twitter during our meetings. He's absent tonight, so I didn't want that opportunity to go past without them getting some recognition. So I would encourage you to check out their Facebook page and support them. Also, I wanted to mention the agriculture show at the stadium over the weekend. I did visit on Sunday with my mother and my niece and my children, and I have to say, I don't know who had a better time, the kids or me or Mom or even my son Isaac, who's 14 and is kind of a bit cool to be going to these events now, had to be dragged out with a candy apple covered in chocolate and score. So he really enjoyed himself as well. But so many different booths there, and just really eye-opening to see just how much produce and product that is supplied just here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and to be able to see, you know, like Trevor Tuck there, who we've had in council chambers or in our boardroom a few times to talk about the importance of his honeybees and the types of products that he's able to produce now from using that honey. And I believe there was an announcement today as well in the Growing Forward with the Premier was in town, talked about different ways that they're going to be able to support agriculture in this area, so that's very important. You know, just to see the different types of animals, the petting zoo, the little baby chicks that were there, the cooking demonstrations using all local products. I think the mayor was involved in a blind taste test while I was there. On Sunday. And then, of course, the children visited again. Teresa, my youngest, was there Sunday and couldn't wait to go back again yesterday because she had so much fun there Sunday. And it was so nice. They learned so much, and just, you know, being able to visit all the booths and talk to the different people in the booths about what they were, you know, the types of products that they had, and just to teach about the environment. It was really nice. So I'm happy, you know, that Grand Falls-Windsor was able to host such an important event, and we certainly look forward to having them back again for sure. The Queen Street Dinner Theatre is having their Christmas show on December 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Tickets went on sale today. And they are going quickly. They always sell out those 4 shows, so if you do plan to attend, I would encourage you to make the phone call quickly to reserve your seats for one of those shows. You can call the Royal Canadian Legion at 489-6560 to reserve your seats. And also the Exploits Jazz Band is having a dance at the Legion on this Friday night. October the 27th. And you can book your tickets there by calling again the Legion, 489-6560, or you can talk to any member of the Exploits Jazz Band. And they also have a Facebook page where you can go on and ask questions or find out who, if you're not aware, is a member of the jazz band to contact for those tickets. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cody Davis. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. We talked earlier about the Snow Angels. Since we talked to those guys, I sat down after our meeting, talked to Andre, and he's going to come back with something a little different for us, something more reasonable, and I told him to make it grow. I think what he's going to propose to us is going to be quite acceptable, and he's going to see Jeff very shortly and have that taken care of. I'd like to send out some thank yous. Like I've been dealing with Keith, Todd, Sarah, and Rod for a number of years. But since becoming councillor here in Grand Falls-Windsor, it hasn't changed. They're absolutely wonderful to deal with baseball, hockey. I mean, on a daily basis, anything I need done is done. Thirdly, the Firefighter's Ball is coming up on October 28th. If anybody's looking for tickets, just contact the Grand Falls-Windsor Fire Department at 489-0430, and you can acquire a ticket for that this weekend. And that's it for me.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Feener.
I'd just like to thank the agriculture show that was here this past weekend at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium. I attended, and I took my 3-year-old granddaughter, and I wanted to try and meet as many people as possible, but I ended up chasing her, running her down. She couldn't get away from the animals we petted, the baby chicks and stuff, and we really enjoyed it. On October 18th, I attended a coffee break shop at a coffee shop across the street there at the Daily Grind, presented by the Chamber of Commerce, and I got to say it was a great learning experience. I got to meet a lot of new business owners, a lot of people who got some business interest in town, and it was really, really interesting. And I'd like to thank, again, like Jeff and Nilsson and Barry for all your help you're doing, guys. It's a learning experience for me. It's going to take me a little while to get familiar with all you guys, but I'm so appreciative of what you guys do. It's very, very appreciated, and I hope to deal with you much more in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Feener. Councillor Whiffen.
I guess like a couple of councillors, I was also at the agriculture show, and I want to make note of the fact that how interactive it was as a trade show, and it's certainly an example of what we can do with trade shows here in Grand Falls-Windsor going forward to any other groups. So I really enjoyed that, and I think it's certainly something that we could build on and focus on in development with our other partners in the coming time. I also want to recognize, actually, we have 6 cadets from the 1916 Beaumont Hamel Army Cadets and the 67 Windsor Sea Cadets attending the provincial orienteering competition in St. John's this weekend. This is the first time that Sea Cadets are allowed to participate in the event, and it's the first time that the Army Cadets have gone in quite a number of years, probably 10 or 15 years now. And yeah, so it's the first time. I know we've spent the last month, we've been practicing our orienteering out at Notre Dame Park, but we've also been down to Corduroy Brook for several weeks practicing out there on the trails, finding our markers, and down at Sanger Park doing different courses and trekking through the trails in the woods, trying to find them. So they're going to represent Grand Falls-Windsor, and I wish them all the best this weekend, and hopefully they in their first competition they perform well. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Whiffen. Councillor Finn.
No other business. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I would like to do is remind people that the town is preparing some promotional videos featuring Gordon Pinson and others. And those videos can be seen on our town Facebook page and our town website. So I encourage everybody to check that out and let us know what you think. I think there's 1 video complete, Mr. Mayor, and 2 more to come. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody should check that out. It's the time of year the daylight closes in on us fairly quickly. There are a number of street lights out around Grand Falls-Windsor. So I would encourage people, if you see a street light out in your neighbourhood, there's an address on our town website and our town Facebook page where you can connect with Newfoundland Power and let them know that the street light in your neighborhood is out, and we encourage all neighborhoods to do that because it's important that the street lights are very important to Grand Falls-Windsor, and we need them working. And finally, Mr. Mayor, November 5th to the 11th is Veterans Week across the country, and everybody's familiar with the history of veterans in Grand Falls-Windsor. Yeah, and certainly the proclamation will be signed this week as well, so we encourage everybody we won't meet again before November 11th, not at least in this chamber. So we encourage all residents of Grand Falls-Windsor to attend the ceremony on November 11th at the Memorial Grounds and show your appreciation and support to the veterans and the Royal Canadian Legion here in Grand Falls-Windsor. And just one more note, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate Maxine Stanley. Maxine received the honorary Doctor of Laws degree from Grenfell College just recently for her work with music here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and certainly other things she's worked on as well. So congratulations, Maxine, quite the award, and just to let her know that we're certainly all proud of her here in Grand Falls-Windsor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Browne. I got a few things to run through, and since we got around there pretty quickly tonight, I will go through all of them. But I won't be that long. Just a note on the streetlights, just thinking about Deputy Mayor Browne's comments, and we always encourage safety. When you talk about this time of year, particularly, as you said, when the nights are closing in, darkness, it's getting dark now around 6 p.m., still lots of activity around at that hour, and certainly the days will continue to get shorter. It's important for motorists to slow down, to make sure that you're very aware of what you're doing. Pedestrians are moving about all the time and sometimes very difficult to see, so I'd encourage motorists to be very aware as they drive around Grand Falls-Windsor, particularly in those dingy hours of twilight. And also pedestrians also should be reminded of safety, and make sure that if you're out at night you are wearing bright clothes, or you are wearing reflectors on your armbands if you're on your arms if you're a walker, or some around your person. And we have some new pedestrian crosswalk lights that have been installed around town, and it's very frustrating at times. I love seeing them going, especially in the dark, because they are very bright and show up well, and motorists should have a very difficult time missing them. But sometimes I notice pedestrians not pressing the button. And really, you know, in your own interests of safety, if you are in an area particularly where you're using these crosswalks on a regular basis, we encourage you to make sure you're using the buttons to press so that motorists can see that you're about to cross. It's only helping yourself, and certainly helping motorists know that you're about to get onto what could be a very dangerous roadway. So the onus is on drivers and pedestrians when it comes to that. I had the opportunity, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago, to visit the armories, and the reserves had a day-long, I guess, open house up there where they encourage the community to come up to tell people what they're all about. They do have openings for people who would be interested in a potential career in the reserves, a opportunity that could lead to other career opportunities as well. It's a paying position. It is a great career choice. So I'd encourage you. I think they meet on Thursday nights at the armories, and they'd be more than happy to see more people come out to find out what it's all about, if it's for them. Their membership now, I understand, is somewhere around, or I guess their complement is probably the more technical term there. It's around 17, where they have capacity for somewhere's around 50. So there's lots of open space there, and we've had such a rich history when it comes to the forces here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and they are trying their best to try to rebuild that, and just a great option for people. There's a lot of young people around that really are not sure what they want to do with themselves or where they want to head in their future, and if it's not for you, you may find out very quickly by getting the information available, but you may also find out that it's something that could be a great benefit and something that you would enjoy. So I'd encourage everybody to check that out. And they have a Facebook page. I think it's Canadian Reserves Grand Falls-Windsor or something to that. I look at Councillor Whiffen because I know he's involved with cadets and that, and I figured, but you'd have no trouble finding them, or drop by on Thursday night when they're up there doing their practice nights, and they'd be only too happy to talk to you about the opportunities for you. We did also have a seniors trade fair a couple of weeks ago, and went over once again very well. Had about 40 presenters there. People had booths set up for different industries in the region, different information available for seniors, and I think we had somewhere 500-600 seniors on that day at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium. And the seniors really appreciate the opportunity to get out and to socialize and to get this valuable information. We've been very active as a community to have this social wellness hub on our website, to have seniors wellness days, and the seniors fair has been very successful. This was the 6th year, and you know, it's something not only do we need to continue, but certainly we need to look at more such activities for our senior population, because there is so much uptake and there is so much benefit from those trade shows for our seniors from the information they get. I'd also like to mention a few people who deserve recognition, and I know Councillor Browne did mention Maxine. I actually got some information here, and I'll read because we do have a little bit of time. Maxine, and the honor that was bestowed on her recently. And it says, for her long and considerable service to her community and her province, Maxine Stanley received the degree of Doctor of Laws Honoris Causa during fall convocation at Memorial. A dedicated and much-loved music teacher in Grand Falls-Windsor for almost 50 years, Maxine Stanley has also been a pivotal figure in a wide range of local and voluntary agencies. Best known for her contribution to music education and mentorship, in particular the youth choir she founded and directs, the nationally recognized bel canto singers. She has fostered, adjudicated, and directed singers throughout her life. Ms. Stanley's list of awards is long and includes 1981 Grand Falls-Windsor Citizen of the Year, Music Newfoundland and Labrador's 2008 Unsung Hero Award, and 2013 Lifetime Achievement Awards. Beyond the countless hours she spends with piano and voice students under her tutelage, Mrs. Stanley also volunteers time and has been generously at her time spent working for helping hundreds of organizations and causes. Ms. Stanley has twice chaired the Central Newfoundland Kiwanis Music Festival and is past president of the Kiwanis Club. She's been a board member of the Gordon Pinson Centre for the Arts, the Grand Falls-Windsor Arts Committee, and the Central Newfoundland Hospital. And at the provincial level, she has chaired the Newfoundland Labrador Arts Council and has served on boards of the Rooms Corporation, Newfoundland and Labrador, the Workers' Compensation Commission, the Children's Rehabilitation Centre, and the Bureau Centre of Excellence in Choral Research at Memorial University. She's also served on the board of Cabot College, and now the College of North Atlantic. So congratulations to Maxine, and obviously a big contribution to our community and to music specifically, and deserves congratulations. On a bit of a somber note, most, if not all, people would have heard by now that former resident and hockey player Terry French passed away recently. And Terry was a little before my time personally when it comes to being around the arena and that, but the stories of Terry were always told, and the story of him being the first Newfoundlander drafted into the National Hockey League. I think he went a couple of rounds ahead of Larry Robinson at the time as a defenseman. And when people talk about the best hockey players to come out of Grand Falls-Windsor, and there are many over the years, it doesn't take very long for Terry French's name to get mentioned amongst all those. So it was sad to hear that Terry had passed away. I believe he was 66, still a very young man, unfortunately. So our condolences to the family of Mr. French. Also want to recognize someone else, no longer a resident, but I suppose he does live here at times, but he spends so much time away, I'm not sure. He likes to enjoy himself, and Len Sims. And people will know Len certainly from his political background. He was our MHA for a number of years in the 1980s, maybe even carried into the 1990s. But again, I'd just like to read a little bio because Len received an award just recently, and it deserves recognition. The Honorable Sherry Gambon Walsh, Minister of Children, Seniors, and Social Development, announced in 2017 Seniors of Distinction Award recipients. The Seniors Distinction Awards program was designed to identify and celebrate the contributions, achievements, and diversity of older persons throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. Len Sims was born in 1943 in Howley and raised in Cornerbrook, but became a longtime resident of Grand Falls-Windsor before moving to St. John's. His list of accolades and accomplishments includes President of the Kinsman Club, Deputy Governor of the Kinsman, Governor of Kinsman, Atlantic Provinces, and Mr. Sims was the first Newfoundland Kinsman to be elected National President in 1978-79. Mr. Sims has been involved with a number of charitable organizations, including the Lions Max Sims Memorial Camp, Chair of the Children's Wish Foundation, and member of Stella's Circle Governance Board. Mr. Sims is a well-known political figure, having served as MHA for Grand Falls-Windsor, Speaker of the House, member of Cabinet, leader of the PC Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, and leader of the opposition. Most recently, Len served as CEO of Newfoundland and Labrador Housing, and as affordable housing advocate, received the National Canadian Mortgage of Housing Corporation Award at the 2013 Canadian Housing Congress for outstanding contribution to advancing affordable housing solutions. So, congratulations to Len, very deserving, and anybody who knows Len is an easy guy to like. He's one of those examples of people, you know, as the years go on, he seems to enjoy himself more and more. Very active on social media. You see him with his regular posts and that, and always had a lot of respect for Len, and glad to see him get that award. One other piece of recognition I'd like to bring up is that, if I could get my iPad working here. This year, we had one of our staff people receive a longtime service recognition award. And it's none other than Mr. Saunders sitting next to me. And Jeff, as a part of the CAMA, the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, attending his conference, was awarded with his 25-year service pin as a manager in our municipality. And I thought it deserved to be pointed out because Jeff has certainly dedicated many years to this job here in Grand Falls-Windsor, many years as Director of Engineering and Works, and more recently now in the last year as the town manager and clerk. And anybody who knows Jeff, as we do, the word avid worker, workaholic, I don't know, there's a lot of different terms can be used, but he certainly puts everything and then some into the job and does so much for our community. So I thought it should be pointed out tonight, and congratulations to you, Jeff, on receiving that pin.
Thank you.
And I'm sure all council would join me in congratulating you on that, and look forward to continuing to work with you for the next 25 years. Just kidding. But congratulations to Jeff. I'll close by just saying, I know Deputy Mayor Browne mentioned the Veterans Week, and of course a part of Veterans Week is Remembrance Day on Sunday, November the 11th. There is an ecumenical service at the Legion on Sunday, November the 5th. It's always held the Sunday before Remembrance Day, and that is at 2:30 p.m. So the public are welcome to the ecumenical service, and that's November 5th, 2:30 at the Legion. And then, of course, the parade and the service that takes place every year at the Armories and the Cenotaph. And again, it seems like in recent years, particularly, the crowds are getting bigger and bigger all the time. We did a lot of great work in the memorial grounds in recent years to improve, and a lot of work on the Cenotaph, and seeing such great crowds up there is certainly a great thing to see. So everybody get out. Like, we'd like to see overflows there again this year, and we'd encourage everybody to take part in that exercise. And we don't need to go into everything that our veterans, many of whom who have passed now, have done for our community, our province, and our country. And really, it's because of them and their dedication, and many times giving up their lives to fight for our freedom, that we have the quality of life that we have today. So the least we can do, I think, is to get up there on Remembrance Day and take part in that ceremony. And I remember some years being up there, and it could have been very, very cold, very, very windy, very, very wet. And I always think about, you know, how it passes off very quickly and say, how lucky am I to be standing here in the rain when these people, you know, lived in ditches for weeks and months and with living on food rations and, you know, all to fight for the country. So very important and should continue to be important. So I'll end on that note. Unless anybody has anything else, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Finn. All those in favor? Aye. Count your mind. Motion carried. We'll see you next time.